What makes young people crave the rave?
I'm curious what makes you so curious. What makes you so curious.
In the beginning was the beat.
Welcome to the Rave Curious podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Glazer. What are we curious about? We're curious about electronic music and the culture that surrounds it. And how do we satisfy that curiosity? We do it by talking to some of the people who have dedicated their lives to the electronic music scene, the DJs, producers, promoters, and more. My guest on today's podcast is Eric Cloutier, yet another Detroit DJ homie who's gone on to represent our hometown outside of the Midwest, first in New York, where he worked behind the scenes at Turntable Lab and became a resident DJ at the Bunker, and now in Berlin, where he's making his mark with kind of a dark psychedelic techno sound, which you can hear on his new Heuristic EP that's coming out at the end of September. It's the first release on his own Palinioa label, and it really demonstrates the style that's made him really popular in places like Paris and Amsterdam and even Japan, where he's been a regular guest at a Labyrinth Festival years before the Japanese fest that happens this month kind of became yet another popular stop on the global techno tourist agenda. Eric and I recorded this podcast while I was visiting Berlin last week, and if it doesn't sound that great, it's because we were forced to record without proper microphones due to Air France losing my luggage. And look, I'm not going to sit here and complain about that. But if you think this intro sounds a bit funny, it's because I'm still using subpar gear, in this case recording on my iPhone, because 17 days after my bag disappeared somewhere between LAX and TXL, I still don't have it. And anyone who's ever lost luggage while flying knows you have to wait a few weeks before it's officially considered lost, and then you have to file a claim, and you have to wait longer for that. And I just spent 10 days traveling Europe, plus I had to buy new clothes, new underwear, new t-shirts, new shoes, new everything while I was traveling. So I'm not exactly flush with cash to buy new recording equipment, but hopefully I'll figure out something before the next episode. And lost luggage aside, I can't be too angry about the whole situation. I did travel halfway around the globe, basically to spend a week just hanging out with friends and go clubbing, which is pretty incredible if you think about it. I actually was at Berghain last weekend when the building was hit by lightning, and the emergency lights went on and stayed on for about 5 hours while the party kept going. You might have heard about this. I think it actually got reported in some of the kind of techno media that the lights came on at Berghain. And if you've been in the club or the reputation of the club, it is not the type of place where bright lights are welcome. But it was really something to see. The lightning also knocked out the air conditioning in the club in the middle of August, which made it one of the hottest, sweatiest messes I've ever experienced, which when you've been going to underground parties as long as I have is really saying something. But the funny thing is, even though I live 7,000 miles away, nobody really raised an eyebrow when I mentioned that I was there that night. It's just not that surprising that somebody who lives in Los Angeles would happen to be at Berghain that weekend. And the same would go for if I was going to Labyrinth Festival in 2 weeks. I'm not, but I easily could, and it wouldn't be that uncommon. I probably had 20 or 30 friends from New York who were at Labyrinth last year, and it just doesn't seem like that big of a deal anymore. For somebody to be in Berlin 1 month, and then at Burning Man the next month, and then at Labyrinth a few weeks after that. It used to just be the DJs who lived that kind of nomadic lifestyle, but now it seems like it's a lot of friends and fans who are doing it as well. Back in the Midwest rave scene in the 90s, we would drive 5, 10, 15 hours to go to a party, almost every weekend. And nowadays it seems like we spend about the same amount of time traveling, but much farther distances because we're doing it via air instead of in my old Pontiac Grand Am. And it's something to think about. A lot of people talk about how millennials are the first global generation, thanks obviously to the internet. It's also been pointed out that underground electronic music was the first cultural movement to really utilize the internet to create this global phenomenon outside of the traditional mass media networks. And now it kind of seems that electronic music is maybe becoming the first IRL global community, where friends just kind of pop up all over the world on a regular basis, so long as there's good techno being played, and nobody really thinks twice about the travel involved. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think hip-hop fans are really traveling around the world for music. I don't think country fans or indie rockers or whatever really have that level of travel specifically to destinations for the music. And, I admit it might seem wasteful. It leaves a big carbon footprint. It obviously can seem indulgent, kind of a bunch of privileged people, generally from the creative class, with so much time and money to burn that they can just literally jet around the world for an extended weekend or what have you. But, I think this is kind of the first for this sort of thing in history, and I think that's worth acknowledging. I think it's also worth tolerating a lost suitcase or two. So that's that, and now my conversation with Eric Cloutier. Thanks for listening.
The 90s are back. Terry Mullen's missing gigs.
Still? Nothing's changed.
I don't know. I don't think put someone on blast is kind of...
Do you remember for the longest time, I can't remember who would do it, but there was a party in Detroit at the Works where for Halloween you had to dress up as another...
Wasn't that, I think Detroit Techno Militia did
I
that
think it was.
party,
I
right?
thought it was a DTM thing.
I never went to it, but I know, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so for the last, I don't even know how many years, 10, 12 years ago, I'm always listed on the flyer as Eric Cloutier is playing as Terry Mullen.
And not
And
sure.
then I just never show up. So, and every year they're just like, Eric Cloutier, nothing.
Well, that's appropriate, because, Detroit Techno Militia kind of started as a underground resistance costume. Anyway.
In a way.
The first few years. Love you, Tom. Love you, Joe. Love you, everyone.
Yeah.
So, this is what we do. This is what the podcast is. We just kind of talk shit on people.
I'm good at that.
But we agreed we're not going to talk too much shit on airlines.
We can. We've both had spectacular experiences.
Astonishing fails.
And
I want to blame the Germans, because we're in Germany recording this, and my particular ordeal involved being told on a daily basis that my bag was at the Berlin airport,
And it's
yet
not.
never being able to communicate with the Berlin airport to get my bag. But
I'm
yours was in America, so...
But I'm still encouraging you to maybe just take a taxi to Tegel.
I don't want it.
Your
I
bag
don't want
might
it.
just be sitting there
I
on the
don't want
curb,
it.
longingly waiting for you, like a lonely puppy.
I want the cash.
I know you do, but...
I would much prefer the cash.
Alright, fair enough. Whatever. Yeah, no, I had the same crap experience. Well, mine was that it was just miles upon miles of delays. I had 11 flights in 20 days. Not a single one of them took off on time. Not one.
That seems punitive.
But
that there's...
come on, guys. Just
look. The idea that we bounce around on airplanes, you get like Louis C.K. about it. It's a miracle. You're traveling through the sky.
It is a brilliant fast forward in technology, but it still fails regularly and it screws with people's lives.
As long as it fails in the context of not getting off the ground.
Yeah, I prefer it if it failed while we're on the floor and not when we're in the sky.
Exactly. I go through phases where I get anxiety about flying. It's not a consistent thing. And lately, the past few years, I'd say it hasn't been an issue. But a few years ago, I was going through a phase where I would get a little anxious as the plane was maybe taxiing, and I've consistently my kind of mantra to calm myself when this would come up is I would think about Richie Hawtin, and I would think about how many miles he's flown. Just as one of our
There's
probably of all of our DJ friends, I'm guessing he must have more just raw miles.
he's eclipsed all of us, I'm sure.
Yeah, and even our other kind of people who have been traveling DJs for 20 years or 30 years or whatever the fuck it's been now that we know.
Everybody's got a story, for sure.
But nobody's died in a plane crash, so
Don't fucking jinx it, dude. Like you gotta fly.
This is true. This is true. I'm not knocking on wood twice. Is that bad? Double bad luck if I knock twice on wood?
No, it's fine.
Okay,
You're good.
The only bad luck will be that my luggage will show up.
Your luggage is probably going to end up here the same time that you take off.
Oh, of course.
It'll be great.
That's fine.
It'll be super great.
It's fine. Let them have it.
Thanks, Delta.
Let them have it.
Delta Airlines. Killing it.
But you can't. Cause what's the other option? Like oh, nobody ever complained about United. Of course they did.
No airline is perfect.
Yeah. So
they all fuck up. They all have hiccups. They all have problems. It's not that. It's just it's an inconvenience that we like to gripe about, and subsequently we'll speak loudly enough on Twitter so we can get maybe a couple extra bonus miles.
DJscomplaining.com.
Yeah, they're working it.
And then you got Brian Kosenek from Bunker, who he got
First class upgrade
New York to Seoul.
What an asshole. What an ass. Like, that's just not even fair. I had just flown back from the States, and I landed, and my luggage is missing from Delta. And I had to go like a day and a half without it. And then I wake up the next morning and see this glorious photo of Brian's feet
in the full reclining pod.
Perched out in the reclining pod of the first class lounge at and I'm just like, or the first class seats in Delta, and I'm just like, what? You're an asshole.
Let you be.
Yeah.
The Domu set was hot.
Yeah, good. I hope you had fun. Hope you slept great.
Maybe that's why the Domu set was so good.
Maybe.
You
know what's funny? You can't even watch Damune here.
Damune? No, I'm saying it wrong, aren't I?
It's Damune.
You would know, you played it.
You can't even watch it here because of fucking Game Out. It doesn't show.
We can wait about Game Out.
We could do that. I don't even know where to begin with that.
I wouldn't even bother.
It's not even
for my mostly American listenership, Game Out is the German copyright. They actually enforce copyright in Germany, which is
heavily
to Americans kind of weird.
They heavily enforce. I can't even. Somebody. Okay, so this whole Frank Ocean thing. I've had like 10 people send me like, oh, you don't know who Frank Ocean is, and they send me all these YouTube links, and I'm like, I can't open any of these because it's all Game blocked.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always like plugins for Chrome and stuff.
I'm not that interested.
You don't care enough to.
If it was like some super amazing thing, sure, but
cool. Yeah, but it's just something you.
It's just an annoying
all the time.
It's an annoying. It's comical in the sense that I can't listen to the Frank Ocean album, but I don't care.
Right.
But at the same time, it's super obnoxious that I can't see one of my best and closest friends, who I run a label with, perform live in Japan because of Game.
Right.
It's just like they're not even remotely related to each other. Like why are you blocking the Damune feed? And it's super annoying.
So let's talk about the label.
Okay.
Then let's pivot away from the DJ griping hour. And
has it been an hour?
Feels
like it.
Thanks. But what about what's going on? So you're referring to Bunker.
Yeah.
What's your involvement exactly?
I mean, I'm still a resident there. Even though I live remotely, obviously, I'm here in Berlin. I'm going to be a resident theoretically until the end of time, Brian. And I'm able to pop back in once in a while and play a couple times a year. I always let Brian know, like, hey, I'm planning another trip back to the States, and it's without question, he'll put me on a Bunker lineup. There's
sure.
No worry about that, and I will always carry that banner and have it as part of my affiliations on flyers and everything. It's always going to be Bunker. That's my team and my crew, and I'm proud of it, and I'll never deny it. So it feels like
that's kind of okay, I know you got your start in Detroit, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't remember where we met. Like, if we met
Motor.
back then. Did we?
Yeah.
I know you had hair,
I had hair.
but I don't remember you with hair. Like, I remember your
I had
name.
glasses too.
I remember your name because you were dating Carissa.
Yeah.
So I knew you, oh yeah, like Chris is dating that Eric Cloutier kid.
That guy.
But I don't recall us ever actually meeting. There's also a lot I don't remember from that era.
There's a lot.
When
a
I
lot
was-
of us don't remember from that era.
So
But yeah, we definitely met at Motor. I don't exactly, but I have like a specific.
right.
But I met you at Motor. For
Okay. And so you were DJing around Detroit.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think, you know, I more than anything, I knew you virtually via the
Detroitluv.
You
Yeah.
know, rest in peace.
Yeah, I did a pretty monumental job of talking shit.
So I guess this is not without premise. This conversation.
Yeah. No, all Detroitluv. I do miss Detroitluv in some capacity, but at the same time, we had our day.
Yeah.
You know, like it wouldn't carry on.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, okay, everyone understands the basic, you know, message boards, you know, just got replaced by social media.
Yeah.
I talked to Dustin Zahn about this when he was on the podcast. I guess last time I was here, so around New Year's. That what's lost with everything now just kind of being in people's social media feed is nothing really gets archived, right? Like nothing,
Yeah. There's no catalog of anything.
Right, there used to be, and there's not just barely ongoing conversations. Like a conversation might last a day. You know, if something hot happens, like a cool, you know,
Somebody screenshots it or whatever.
yeah, or like a new track or something.
Yeah.
Like people might talk about it for a day, and the comments, whatever.
A day, you're killing it in internet time.
True.
You know, it's like
But back then, it was like you would have like these, arguments that can last for a week. It'd be hundreds.
week.
On
there's-
Detroitluv.
No,
Right?
there's a couple that definitely lasted years.
Yeah.
I mean, there's threads that had like 700 some odd replies,
Yeah.
and it's comical. in a
And
way.
all about one thing. All about like you went onto that board. Whether it was once a day or once an hour or whatever.
I was on there like way too much.
Were you a moderator?
I was a moderator.
Okay, so
Which is even worse.
the notion of a moderator is
That
like,
talk shit.
well, okay, sure, but the fact that there was even this idea that like, well, ultimately, somebody's in charge,
Barely.
but
Yeah, I mean we had some level of structure to it, but at the same time it was kind of just like, if you want to start that drama, you made that bet, like go ahead. Like
right,
that's your problem.
And drama's fine, but
But nobody's gonna clean up your mess. Like go, it's your shit. Now.
let's be honest, it was techno drama. Like it was,
But it was techno drama in the stupidest way too. It's like
Give an example. Think
uh,
of one.
I don't even know where to begin with that website. I actually coincidentally just like a day ago tried to do like a Wayback.
A Wayback Machine, yeah.
I think it's gone.
Really?
I know.
Because it was like a year ago that we were talking and we were like, oh my god, like it's not there anymore. Like we knew it wasn't active.
We knew it was.
But the archives were up.
I would
within
venture to guess that Finn most likely has all of it, and
everything
I'm sure
somewhere.
Mark probably has it as well, just archived somewhere. But it's just a data dump, and nobody will be able to access it unless you're.
And nobody could possibly care. I mean,
nobody's gonna care.
but there is something like it's. Did you read Michelangelo Matos's book that came
I
out
haven't
last
read it
year?
yet. No, I need to pick it up. Again, living here, it's kind of
Yeah.
a bit difficult to pick up the English language.
One of the things that I appreciated about it was he goes into a lot of depth about message boards. And I mean, he was talking about a little, kind of pre-Detroitluv. He was talking about like the listservs.
Well, yeah,
the 313 list and the SF Raves list and the Midwest Raves list.
mailing list. So I can't crap.
Exactly. But those were which were the technology that predated. But he wrote. I mean, he went deep. I mean, he read. I can't even fathom. I think that's why his book took 5 years to come out. Like he spent so much. He went down that wormhole.
Yeah.
But it was amazing some of the things he brought to the surface. Like
I mean, there was some weird shit. I mean, definitely on Detroitluv, there was some comically people that are now famous that would actually log on to the board. Richie actually had an account. and Richie would check in and post his parties on Detroitluv. And every once in a while, you'd get this like kind of slapback of explanations of whatever fault happened or whatever.
What went wrong and why?
Yeah, and then, but there was also like Terry Mullen was on the board. Who there was a couple of drum and bass guys that were all the Planet of the Drums guys. AK 1200. Him and I were not good friends. Actually, when he played at Blue in Detroit, and MD
Mark David
that ran Detroitluv opened. It was like I was in the booth and everything, and AK 1200 was just like, he flat out was just like, fuck you. And I was like, dude, it's the internet, who cares? Like, like you just need to calm down. But he kind of had that like, no, it's there forever. Like you said
no, you know, you should reach out to him right now and let him know that
he's right.
It's gone. No, it's gone.
Well, yeah, that's fine, dude. We're cool because it's been deleted, so don't worry about it. But no, I mean, I could see his point. You know, it's like talking shit. It's like it's got an impact, and I get it. And I was really good at it on that website, but it just became super exhausting. And
I think it's nice that, and I, without getting too much like, you know, kids get off my lawn. Like
no,
I don't see the level of discourse about the music anymore. Like
there's not really that much of a conversation.
Yeah, like everyone smashes it every time. Every party's the bomb.
Everybody's amazing. Everybody's the bomb. Everybody's the best. This is the best record ever. And then you go to bed and wake up and it's gone.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Nobody
the point.
cares.
Like,
but this, I appreciated it because it was actually like an ongoing, perpetual, never-ending discussion, and you couldn't back down.
Yeah.
Like if you said something, it was written, etched in.
I actually had someone on the podcast recently, and I'm not going to name names, only because I actually I bumped into this artist this week here in Berlin, and he couldn't have been cooler about the whole thing. Like, it was one of those where I never spoke to him. There was one thing that, like, kind of ended up in the podcast that he wasn't super happy about. And I'm like, hey, like, that's the deal here. I don't edit.
Yeah.
You know.
It's the raw recording.
But, and I ended up, you know, I go and take out some ums and ahs and whatever. But, yeah, I don't take out bits of content. Unless someone's specifically like, oh, man, I really shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
But you have that option, like, right after the conversation.
Yeah, off the record.
Like, I won't be a total asshole.
Yeah.
But if it then comes out and then, like, yeah, somebody in his camp sent me an email asking for a change, and went back and forth. I ended up, I literally had to say, I'm like, you know, the notion, it was, what was said was so, you know, so lightweight anyways.
But it's...
And I want to bring up who, because when I ran into him, I was like, hey, are we cool? And he's like, dude, like, yeah, like, I totally respect, like, you know, you asking me, like, asking me to change something on this podcast would be like me asking you not to play that record.
Yeah, it's just like making a request in a club, you know.
But the point is that, yeah, there's so little conversation where there's so little criticism or, you know, thoughtful critiquing about something that in theory we all, you know, put so much time and love and energy into and should want to make it better.
Well, that's the thing, is that, like, I think everybody's just a bit too instant gratification now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not this back and forth. It's just, here's my opinion, accept it, it's gone.
Right.
You know, there's not the point counterpoint.
Right.
So that's where a lot of things kind of just devolved. You know, like, it's just not as engaging when it comes to discussing music.
Yeah.
Because it's basically, I'm going to talk as loud as I possibly can, and if you don't like it,
it'll just go away.
It'll go away eventually, you know, or you just look at a different website.
Or just there's no website. Just scroll.
Just mute me.
Scroll this much, and there'll be a post about Donald Trump.
And in 15 seconds,
you can think about something else.
You know? So, I think that's kind of obnoxious in a way, because there's been a lot of things that have come out that people absolutely lose their mind over, and I automatically am like, am I going to listen to this in 10 years and go, I still like that album? Or am I just liking it because it feels good right now?
Right.
Like, why? But
which is fine. Music can be ephemeral like that. Like,
yeah, but
there can definitely be records that.
But nobody's actually having that discussion. Like, nobody's calling anybody out. Mm-hmm. Nobody's actually saying that, like, sure, this is the hot shit right now, but nobody's taking the time to go, actually, let's have a sit-down discussion. Let's marinate on this for a bit. Let's listen to it over the next couple of days, weeks, whatever, and try to actually see if this is really the gift of God that you think it is. But it's probably not. And, it's just kind of annoying.
Odds are the latest 30-minute Villalobos remix is not going to be...
It's not timeless.
It's not going to be as timeless as the 15-minute Ricardo Villalobos remix from 10 years ago.
The other 15-minute Ricardo that we all need.
On the other hand, if it's a 15-minute Kenny Larkin remix, those are great across the board. The one he does every 2 years or so.
2-3 years, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if there was a bit more. Well, the other problem is that people are so quick to be flippant and just get really beat up over a review on Resin Advisor or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They just lose their shit when the numbers don't match up to the words. And it's just will you calm down? In the end, this is all pretty arbitrary. You got one guy reviewing it. It's not the be-all and all. I like Pitchfork, shit like that.
Yeah. One of the smartest thing Pitchfork ever did is they don't have comments.
This is the problem, I think, is that, well, it's a problem, but it's also a good thing. This is where the message board thing would be helpful.
Yeah.
Is because you could actually engage people a bit more and have...
And I do forget that RA has...
They do have the comments.
The only time I ever end up looking at RA comments is if you post something about an RA comment. Just something like your personal Facebook. That's the only thing that...
I scroll through them every once in a while because I'm just when you see something that... It's okay, it's a EP or it's a news story about a club or whatever. And then all of a sudden it's you come back 24 hours later and it's why does this thread have 78 comments? I should see what these people are talking about. And you go and dig into it and it's well, you guys are really breaking down this, the semantics of something.
That's what it all becomes the semantics.
Yeah, and it's just wow, you guys are really getting into it over something that's pretty, top level boring. There's nothing special about any of this. Why are you breaking it down that heavily? Mm-hmm. And just whatever. It's just internet's become who can speak the loudest faster.
Right.
Sneak did a pretty good job.
DJ Sneak
did a fantastic job with the fabric thing.
I just had him on a podcast recently, and I gotta admit, I was looking for something. I was can I get that quote?
House Gangster?
Can I get that? Can I get this podcast into that conversation? Can I get him, to say the thing that'll then make other places post DJ Sneak said on this podcast.
Yeah.
Turns out I think this isn't really the format for it, and turns out he was actually we just didn't go there, and we actually talked at some point.
He's a super nice guy.
Talked to him, in person. I think so, and he admitted that he kind of knows what he's doing, when he's when he stirs stirs shit. The fabric thing seems weird.
The fabric one's a bit weird to me
because that's either there's a personal
there has to be a person because it's you don't record a fabric mix CD and play there a couple times a year
consistently, yeah,
and then post there's got to be some
something went askew.
There's something we don't know about, and okay, maybe, but you're a public persona, you can't.
Yeah, it just shows a tone depth. Even if you honestly don't believe that what happens to fabric has any impact on the rest of the global community, and even if you honestly believe that the people at Fabric deserve what's coming to them, and even if you honestly believe this, honestly believe that, the tone deafness of that one.
That's the thing, is it just comes off as so did you just have blinders on the last week? What's going on? How did you completely why with all the positivity, then you just come out with this bullshit. So there's probably some underlying thing that none of us know about, and only DJ Sneak knows about. Mm-hmm. And cool, beef is beef. Maybe not the right time to bring it out. Probably going to be paying for that one for a while.
It seems like it.
It's not something that people just forget.
But this also world, maybe it's the Donald Trump of
it is the internet though.
DJs. Yeah, maybe it'll
be gone. It's already probably.
That's also true. It'll disappear very quickly.
It'll disappear because it's already 7,000 miles down on your Twitter feed. Who cares? You can't find it again. You can search for it if you really try hard enough. But
yeah,
do you really care that much?
No, and it was actually I probably would. Well, You posted something about it, which is what made me go, oh, go.
Because I'm just like, I wasn't surprised.
Oh, what
at
did
all.
DJ Sneak do? So like that was my into, and being like that was in like Croatia and whatever. Like I very well could have maybe missed that one completely.
I mean, I've stayed out of that whole fabric thing in general because what do you really do?
Yeah.
Like, what can you possibly say or do or whatever? But then when I saw this thing with Sneak, and I was just like, really? Immediately, I was just like, who's surprised? He likes to stir the pot, and he's pretty good at it.
And even beyond Sneak, just the thing that's going on in fabric, like, yeah, I can objectively look at it and say, like, oh, that's...
I see both sides of the coin there.
That's a shame.
Sadly, I see both sides of the coin.
How so? Explain to the people who...
I enjoy fabric just as much as everybody else.
Have you played there?
I've never played there, no.
Okay.
Fabric. But I also understand from the political side of, you're under the gun as a very prominent figure in the nightlife community of a major city in Europe. And you have headlines that are telling people about kids that are overdosing and dying in your club. This is not a good look. And obviously there's going to be some political ramifications on that, and they're going to come back at you probably with the claws out, for sure. And I know there was a couple times just in the last couple of years where they had...
there's been incidents.
There was something about that they wanted to have like drug dogs.
No, they did. They've had drug
dogs.
Okay,
they did have the drug dogs.
I mean, as great as that club is, and as fantastic as they have been for the music over the past decade and a half.
Yeah.
My experience there, particularly like the last time I was there, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they were wearing, the staff was all had to wear t-shirts that said "Watch your phone."
Yeah.
And as you were leaving the club, they stopped you and you had to show them your phone, unlock it for them to prove it was yours, and they ran a wand, metal detector over you to make sure you didn't have 10 other phones in your pockets. If you have that much of a phone theft problem at your club, like, I don't know.
This is the thing is that I mean, like, I understand like the problem with drugs and clubs and all that shit, and I feel bad for.
I want to talk about phones. I don't.
Oh, you're
no,
talking
I'm kidding. No.
But like, it's an unfortunate side effect of everything, but it's bad when you have to so loudly try to stop it and still lose every time. Like you're saying with watch your, like everybody in that works there has a t-shirt that says watch your phone. You can't make it more obvious.
Yeah.
Outside of like having a public announcement every 20 minutes, like it's the fucking airport.
Please check your phone.
Yeah, it's like that's the kind of thing we're getting. If that's where we need to go, that's sad. Like that's
it becomes just untenable, which is what the property developers probably want.
Of course,
like,
they want to reclaim that space.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the property developers hiring the pickpockets. Like,
that's some speculative.
That's some majorly speculative shit.
But
I'm saying like
people have done less
way shadier things for to get a nice piece of property in an upcoming part of one of the biggest real estate markets in the world.
Yeah, there's far worse things you could do.
There are Russian oligarchs who need fifth apartments in London right now.
I would love a fifth apartment.
So.
Yeah, I mean, that whole thing's a bit... I see what's happening. It's definitely political.
But this is also nothing new. I mean, the number of... virtually every club that has gone through the history of dance music closes very often because of gentrification issues and real estate issues. And
No, nothing's permanent.
Yeah.
Nothing's permanent, especially when it comes to a club. And this is always the comical thing is that like you get the club's been there for 10 years and then 10 or 15 mom and pop lawyers with their kids move in because it's the hip spot to be, and then they complain and they get the club shut down. It's just like that club was there before you moved in.
Sure.
So why are you screwing it for everybody else just because you want to live in the cool spot, because now you're making the cool spot really uncool.
Which is what always happens. It's what happened to industry in Toronto.
Lower East Side in New York.
That's what happened. Yeah. Well, it's not what happened to Motor. People just stopped coming. But,
No, that was just Detroit just happened to Motor.
yeah, exactly. Well, one shooting death, one drug overdose.
The shooting death didn't help.
The shooting death was plus 9/11.
The
All these
death,
things happened at the same time.
The shooting death was during the festival though, too, wasn't it?
It was the Monday night.
Yeah, that didn't help.
No,
That didn't help.
I was not there. Thankfully, one of the few nights the club was open and I wasn't there. I had been there. I had worked like Thursday, Fridays, like whatever. Like Monday night was mine. You got a party going? Cool. The B team can handle it. I'm out. I was actually watching Derek May play the best Derek May set I've ever heard.
Oh, this is the Thunderstorm. This is the
yes.
Yeah, this is the
I think that was all the same year. Yeah,
2001.
2001. Yeah, that would make sense.
2001.
Yeah.
That was the Thunderstorm year where Derek
Yeah.
May had to stop because the hail was coming down the
Yes.
size of like a golf
And
ball.
then he was so stressed out about the whole thing
Yeah.
because it was the whole lead up because that was the year that like they just fired Carl Craig
yeah.
2 weeks before, the guy who started the thing, the guy who booked Derek, who was supposed to his little brother sort of thing, and then would Derek still play after they did Carl like that, and then there was so much drama, most of it on Detroitluv.
Hey, we helped. We helped.
And then Derek, were you there at the works for that?
I wasn't at the works. Where did I go that night? I don't remember where I
Who
went.
knows? I mean, there was still at the point where there weren't that many parties.
No, maybe I did go.
But
No, because I remember Derek playing. I was downstairs listening to
Slam.
and then all of a sudden I was just like, wow,
It got so
it got
crowded.
really crowded down here.
I was down there as well.
It's like it got really, really crowded down here. And then they were like, yeah, it's like absolutely pissing down rain, and there's
golf-size hail
like
balls.
golf ball size hail, and they shut down all the other stages, and this is the only place that people can go. So everybody's
Yeah, no, it got really scary down there for a minute. Like,
I was like,
what's happening with all these people?
I'm not claustrophobic, but I'm like, I literally can't move.
That's funny.
And
We were
Slam's
both
good.
That's why we were both down there for Slam.
Yeah, I've seen Derek plenty of times. But it was just like, yeah, cool. I'm gonna go see Slam, and then it kind of got really weird, and like really.
And then they finally just cut all the music.
They just killed
like,
the whole thing.
Yeah, like festival and
For like
festivals
50
ending an hour early.
No, it wasn't an hour.
Maybe
I
not.
think they shut the outdoor stages at like 11, and Slam at least made it to 11:30,
Maybe.
11:45.
Was that the year that? No, I'm thinking of a different year. I'm thinking the year that I DJ'd the Detroitluv tent during Jeff Mills.
That's a hard one.
Well, I went through this decade-long phase of dissing Jeff Mills.
Okay, good.
So I was happy to take
To counter him.
to take the slot in the little Detroitluv booth. It wasn't even a tent; it was a
It
booth.
was a tent.
It doesn't matter that I don't know how to DJ.
Yeah.
This is well before I had any of that inclination, and God bless Derek Puslako for saving me that day
He does that.
because I was wasted.
Did he bring White Castle?
He showed up with a backpack full of Mardi Gras beads.
Oh, okay.
It was getting girls to flash me.
Yeah, I remember this.
The entire time I was playing.
Yeah, okay, I remember. This is all coming back to me now.
So, and the best part being when the cop finally came up behind him, and I saw the cop coming up, and I'm trying to get Derek's attention because he was looking the other way,
Yeah.
and I'm like, he's giving girls beads and getting their boobs out, and I'm like, he's about to get arrested, and the cop taps him on his shoulder. I see him spin around, and I'm just like, what's gonna happen here? And instead the cop was like, yo, give me some beads.
Yeah,
He
if there's only one thing about the festival is that the cops are probably the most chill dudes.
Yeah.
There's that famous video of the one cop that was like breakdancing.
Breakdancing.
Yeah, I mean, like you actually get to see they're everyday people.
Yeah.
Just because they wear a uniform doesn't mean they don't know how to get down.
Yeah, especially in Detroit.
Especially in Detroit. Well, yeah, there's always been the driving around during the festival, listening to music in your car, and pulling up to a stop sign, and somebody just like starts doing a Detroit jit, like right on the street corner. It's just like, yeah, cool. I'm home. This is good.
So how often do you go back? You haven't even been back for the festival in a while, have you?
I haven't been to the festival in a long time. Actually, the last time I went was like a super surprise one. We were able to get tickets, and a friend of ours was driving from New York. And it was just like, hey, you want
This is when you were still living in New York?
Yeah,
Okay.
so this was, it's got to be 6 years ago was the last time I went to the festival. And yeah, it was basically like, yeah, our friend's leaving in about 3 hours. Do you want to go pack a bag? And it was just like, yeah, sure, fuck it. Just get in a car with some strangers and drive to Detroit. And yeah, we went to Detroit then, but that was the last time I was there. I haven't been. I did the first 11 years. You know, like I don't feel like I need to keep going all the time. I did 2000 to 2010, and it was just like I'm okay.
Yeah.
Missing a.
I
few-
took like I think like around like 2005 or 2006 up until like 2013 2014. I took a good break
Yeah.
as well, and then started reclaiming.
Getting your scene points back.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
By going back.
I did the first 11, and it was just like, I'm good. I can take a break.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Berlin, and it's there's plenty of festivals in Europe
Yeah.
on the weekly. It's like let's check out some other things. I don't need to always go back. I know that Memorial Day will be there. Like it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
If I want to go back, I'll go back. But like I'm not super concerned with it. The thing is that I always do kind of think about. I always talk about it that it's obviously like the meeting point for almost every friend that I have.
That's the reason for going
And
back.
I know that I can
Like,
go back and I can see people that I haven't seen in 5, 10 years, whatever. And that would be really nice. Like
Yeah.
so.
Although I find that there's that's amusing for about 3 minutes when it's the people you really haven't seen for that long.
I mean, but it's nice to just touch base. And,
Yeah.
And just there's an old community there and old friends, and like I said, there's a lot of people that fly in from all over the world that also haven't seen in a long time. And it'd be nice. It's just like a good central spot. I mean, you got the fountain or whatever. It's just like it's easy. But yeah, I haven't done it in a while, and I think I'm overdue to go back and.
Yeah, like I said, after my long break, like going back again, I was like, oh right, like this is a lot of fun, and like everybody's here, and
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see it
So-
as it is now.
and you've not played the festival.
No, I did
Have
the
you?
festival 2004 and 2008.
Okay, both of those you were still in Detroit. So what's your timeline? I don't remember exactly. Like
I
you
was in Detroit until.
were born in the Detroit area.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Let's
go
do
back.
a little bit of biography history.
All right.
Let's just stop assuming everyone just wants to listen to us talk.
That's not what this podcast is about.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. But let's slip it in there a little.
Yeah, just casually.
So, but you're from
I was born in Birmingham.
Birmingham. Okay.
Lived there for first 4 years of my life, and then we moved to Brighton, Michigan.
Okay. So that Brighton's like the edge of what you could still call Detroit, like the Detroit
It's
area.
about
Like
as-
Birmingham's like the heart of the Detroit
It's
suburbs.
Boring Ann Arbor. Is
Yeah.
basically what it is. Because it's just that's far out as you can possibly.
But it's it's funny. It's really no farther. I think it's about as far as Belleville. Maybe a tiny bit farther.
No, it's probably about the same.
Roughly. So it's roughly the same distance from Detroit that Derek May, Juan Atkins, and Kevin Saunderson.
Yeah, not
were.
actually from Detroit.
Yeah, like
Belleville, not part of Detroit.
Right.
But it's easier to say Detroit.
because nobody knows where.
Nobody knows where
it's
Brighton
the
is.
metro area.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
well, that's the other
Barely-
comment.
barely the
It's-
metro
If
area.
you look at Detroit on a map, it's pretty sprawling.
Yeah.
So it's like nobody knows.
Okay, so you're from Brighton.
Yeah,
You're doing the whole high school there.
yeah. But
And
going to parties as much as I possibly could.
When did that start?
Like 96.
Okay, that's the year I started. Roughly.
96 was on my birthday at Jack-O-Lantern,
Okay,
Richie Hawtin's party.
there we go. See, mine was Sickness, which I think was right before. Yeah, which would have been 3 months before
Yeah.
Jack-O-Lantern. And I'd been to one or two weird things, like in '91, like maybe '92 maybe, like real weird stuff where I didn't even realize there was
You
like.
didn't even realize I was at a rave.
I had no idea that word didn't exist. I didn't know there was somebody playing records. Like I had no sense of anything.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until like '96, Sickness and Recovery,
So
which
I'm bummed I missed Sickness.
just had its 20-year anniversary a couple weeks ago.
For some reason, I have a flyer for it. I never went
But
to
you
it.
didn't go.
I don't know how I ended up with a flyer for it. I think it was like a leftover at Record Time or something.
Probably, yeah.
It's like, cool.
You still have it?
I think so,
That's
yeah.
hilarious. I don't even have the flyers I designed for Motor anymore. Like I have nothing.
I have a box somewhere in my parents' basement.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, I have none of it.
It's not many, because I for the most part, did a pretty monumental job of not letting my parents know that I was going to Detroit on the weekends and, going to illegal venues. And
Yeah. I was mostly already in college by that point. I was already...
Yeah, I was like...
I'm a few years older than you, I think. So.
A bit. Yeah, I was like 16.
Yeah.
Parents probably would have frowned upon that. So, leaving around a casual sickness and recovery flyer, they'd probably be like, do what now? So, I tried to not keep them, but there was a couple that was just like, yeah.
And were you all in right away? Were you like buying records right away? Like, what was...
Yeah, the light switch flipped pretty quickly, and I went right into like trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Mm-hmm. Understanding this whole mixing two records thing together. And then there was a record store that it was online called Planet X. I think they were based out of like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh.
Oh, I don't know this.
That they had like it's a killer catalog of things. It was up there with Bent Crayon, if you remember Bent Crayon in Ohio, I think they were. And they were just super good, and they were like one of the only ones that had like samples. Just like 60-second samples of tracks, and again
in 96, 97, that was
just like trying to buffer a 60-second sample of album. And I just kind of like went completely crazy with that, and just started buying like whatever. I didn't even care.
That's interesting. You were buying online first. You weren't like doing the drive to Roseville to record time. It was not close for you.
No, it was a 45-minute drive.
At least, yeah.
On a good day, 45 minutes. But it was just like, I would go down to record time when I could, but it was more just like online buying, which is what I still do today. Like I never had that readily accessible record store culture thing, where you just pop in every day and check it out. So I still do most of my buying online just because that's what I know.
How you learned.
That's how I learned, and that's how I'm comfortable. I just can sit with my headphones and peruse at my leisure. But I started buying records like right away, and kind of also kept them. I kept them at my friend's place because he had turntables, and it was just like there's no point in me keeping them at my parents' place because I have no way to play them. So I just started buying records and like going over to my friend's place when I could on the weekends, pretty much every weekend, and then pop into a warehouse or crawl through a hole in a wall somewhere to go do something illegal, and ever since then it's all downhill as it is for DJs.
So where did you first start with? You were at the Works a lot, right?
I played at the Works a lot.
That was your first.
Yeah, I played at the Works a lot. I played at.
Which, talk about another place that like, on the one hand, the Works is shit. The Works has always been shit.
It's always been shit, but it's always great.
And it's survived as long as Fabric.
Yeah.
The Works is the Fabric of Detroit.
Somebody write that down.
I did actually. I wrote that. I wrote that article a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago.
Is that our new hashtag? It's a bit long.
Yeah.
It's a bit verbose.
Fuck Fabric, go to the Works.
Yeah, just the Works is the Fabric of Detroit. That's good.
I remember actually going to the Works before it became the Works.
Well, because it used to be called.
Whatever. No, it was always called the Works, I think.
No, it wasn't called because Kevin Saunderson did his Monday night thing there.
Yeah, that was still the Works.
Was it still the Works?
Yeah, it was the Works before. It was when Tiger Stadium was still in Corktown.
when the Tigers were still a baseball team.
Right. It had the Works already had a dual function. It had its game day.
Yeah.
It was a bar near the stadium.
It was a block away from the stadium.
Yeah. It also at that point, Joey, the owner, had inherited it from wherever he had gotten it from. It was in the family.
Yeah.
And he was running it as a gay bar.
It's always been a gay bar.
Right. No, I don't think always. I think
I mean, it wasn't advertised as one, but
right.
It was just everybody knew it as one.
When and there was some deal like when they tore down the stadium, basically decimating anything you could do business wise there.
Yeah.
Because they served food and they somehow just through the niceties of the neighborhood.
Well, they had they skirted a lot of the Corktown shutdown stuff.
Were able to stay open late.
Yeah. Well, no, but that's actually the law in Michigan. Is because I knew this from working at Oslo running
If
off.
you, if you have food, then you're a restaurant.
If you have a kitchen, you're
Yeah.
considered a restaurant. Restaurants can stay open 24 hours a day.
yeah, you
But
just have to stop serving
you
alcohol.
just
at
have to
some
stop
point.
serving
Yeah.
alcohol at 2 a.m.
Or as we called it, extra ice.
Extra ice at the works, man.
So, but I remember going in there with Tim Price because the first event from our scene that happened there was Rich did a party.
Richie
there.
did all his parties there.
And it was just one of those Tim Price constantly sniffing out any place in the Detroit area that might be able to play music past 2 a.m.
It was either that or City Club.
And this was before City Club.
I know, but like
And
that was the only two options.
We went there. Tim took me there, and it was still they still had the picture of John F. Kennedy up on the wall
That's weird.
because it was an old Irish place.
Yeah.
But it also with the rainbow.
Yeah.
Because it was at that point operating mainly as a gay after hours.
Yeah.
And they kept that. I don't know that they still do that, but there was for many years they kept that they would not touch that Friday. That Friday was the gay after hours.
Yeah, no, it always was.
No matter what. I think maybe
I think it's still.
it might be. I don't know what their regular bookings are.
We haven't lived there for a long time.
I remember showing up with Laurent Garnier at 2 a.m. looking for a place to play because his party had gotten shut down.
Oh, is this the one where Derek, the party moved like 3 times?
Yeah.
It's like a recording of Derek doing something
on
one of the mixed
Yeah,
CDs?
exactly,
Yeah, okay.
exactly. But because it started off, it was supposed to be at
Eastern
Market. The cop showed up early.
Like he played like 2 records.
I don't think.
No, I didn't even think he played.
No, he didn't. He was just there. Cop showed up, shut it down. So he moved to Corktown. Corktown went to 2:30. Corktown, is that the name of the place? The
Corktown
upstairs?
Tavern?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. And that's supposed to shut down at 2. We pushed it to about 2:30. And at 2:30, when they were like, "No, seriously, you guys gotta
stop.
go."
Yeah, you gotta stop.
I was like, there's a gay after hours a block away. And I remember Laurent just lit up. He's like, "Gay after hours, you say?"
Let's do it.
I don't know what kind of accent that was.
That's.
I mean, he has a bit of that, he's French but British.
Yeah, we'll let it.
But
slide.
I didn't do
Yeah, it's
either
okay.
justice.
Yeah, but the works was. I played there a lot. You probably could consider me a resident in some capacity, but I was literally playing there 2 or 3 times a week.
Right.
Just constantly. Between the different parties. We had our Nefarious parties with Detroitluv. There was Input-Output that was there with me and John Jor, who's with Paxow and stuff now. God, I don't even know how many... I've played at the works way too many times. I know that place probably too well. Yeah, it was a killer spot though. Decent sound. Well, it used to have amazing sound, but it was all that EAW Avalon sound system that Richie kind of pushed them to put in.
Was that the deal with that?
Yeah, because Richie wanted to keep using it, so he was just like, "I'll do it, but you have to get the EAW Avalon," because that's what the jack system was.
No, the jack system was not EAW Avalon. The jack system was Serwin Vega bottoms and EAW 850 tops.
Okay, so that's what it was.
The Avalon system.
I just remember
Here's where I get.
I just remember how heavy they were.
Yeah, because the Avalon system was what we had at Motor the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And then what was it? Temple Bar in Ferndale had an Avalon system.
Because it was the king shit in the States.
Yeah, I think maybe some of the Avalon system from Motor is what ended up at the works. After Motor closed and they had to sell it off. I don't remember.
I just always remember the Works having Avalon. I remember Joey actually being like, "No, if we're gonna do it right." And I think he just went straight for Avalon.
Maybe those were not cheap at the beginning.
New. They sounded damn good though.
Yeah.
Just pain in the ass.
Well,
that
was the first flown system built for clubs. Before that, it was speaker stacks.
Yeah, it was stacks. Yeah.
And the Avalon was the first system that was designed
to hang.
Yeah, subs on the floor, mids and highs up top.
10 more bodies in the room.
Exactly. You gotta hang that shit with chains.
Yeah. Think about this in a drinking capacity. Yeah, it was, but it was I think EAW is actually a Michigan company.
No, I know this. They're a Boston company.
Okay, that's right.
And because their Avalon started in Boston, the first Avalon club was in Boston, and then they got Joe, the guy who started the club, moved to LA. So there's an Avalon in LA. I think at a few points there's been even more Avalons.
There's been a few, yeah.
But he's a Boston guy originally.
Okay. For some reason I thought EAW was a Michigan company.
No, you're thinking Carhartt.
Yeah, I always get my speakers and my jeans mixed up.
But yeah, so Joe Shanahan? No, that's Smart Bar. I don't remember the guy, but yeah.
Ipso facto.
Yeah. So that was the whole deal with the Avalon system. But the Works, okay, so you're playing at the Works.
Yeah.
You're spending your days fighting with people on a Techno message board,
Yeah.
and at night you're
Fighting with people.
fighting with people in person
Personally, yeah.
at this like former baseball like Irish gay after hours
dugout. Like, I don't know what the hell you want to
the
call it.
kind of thing that like could only like if you're not from Detroit or you're not from some sort of
You just don't get
similarly
it. Yeah, you just-
depressed urban area, it's hard to explain. I think like people who aren't from that have a hard time explaining. But people who are from Milwaukee or
It's a
St.
Midwest.
Louis,
It's a profoundly
or
Midwest
something.
experience.
they understand that place. Like, well, yeah, there's the place. Like, there was a place, the Dinky Town, was in Minneapolis.
I have no idea.
It was nothing. It was like a little pool hall kind of joint with like low ceilings. It's like in a basement, low ceilings, DJ
Dive.
booth,
Total dive.
barely adequate sound. But you talk to anyone who was in Minneapolis in like late '90s, early 2000s.
That's the place.
Yeah, that was the place. Like, oh man, the Dinky Towner. I tell people I DJ at the Dinky Towner, and they lose their shit if they're from that part of the world.
Yeah,
Like,
it's the Works is a special place.
So, and then when did you decide to move to New York?
It was like 2009. I think I moved to New York. I think. Yeah, jeez. I don't even remember now. I'm pretty sure it's 2009 is when we moved, or when I moved to New York. Just kind of was over it in Detroit. Just done. Like, I had a good job, and if I would have stayed at said job, I'd be probably retired when I'm 55 and happily.
What were you doing? Computer geek shit?
No, I was working at Toyota, in the design studio, like helping
Okay.
with like the clay modeling and stuff of cars.
I did
It
not
was-
know that at all.
It was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. And if I would have stayed, things would be good. Would I have the same experience now? No, I wouldn't be DJing. I'd be doing car stuff.
Yeah.
Which you do in Detroit, you know.
Didn't Ryan Elliott do something similar to that?
Ryan Elliott was if I remember correctly, he was one of the managers of the finance department for Ford Motor.
Okay.
Ford
So
financing.
it's similar, like life or track in the auto industry.
You're destined to work in the auto industry
Yeah.
if you live in Michigan. Period. It's just gonna happen.
Even still, even today.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing.
So I was just like, I decided that I wanted to make music more of my career path and not automotive. And yeah, I was just like, I had come to New York to play the Bunker. I was brought out to play the Bunker, and I was just like completely enamored with the city. And I was just decided, yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna quit my super cush job at Toyota and pack my stuff into my Mazda and drive to New York. And here I am. And
So how did you hook up with the Bunker at that? Like, how did you... Or was it through Derek, right?
it was through Derek.
Plus Laco.
Yeah,
Just
it
to
was-
clarify our various Dereks.
It was through Derek for sure. I mean, he was my in to a lot of things. And he definitely hooked me up with the Bunker. And I also was just a nagging voice in Brian Kesnick's ear. Because I was working at Turntable Lab at the time. Like when I first moved, I was working at Turntable Lab.
Oh, that's right. You worked with Allison.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
And I was working at Turntable Lab, and I would get done with work at 8 o'clock on a Friday, and it was just like, well, there's only one good place to go hear techno that I appreciate, that makes me feel like home. And that was the other thing, is that like I would go to Subtonic, and it was like, I feel like I'm back in Detroit. This is a dumpy ass piece of shit bar, and it's just rammed with friends and good music, and like that's precisely what I want. They had that homey feeling to it. And when Subtonic closed and Brian was moving the party to a couple different locations, when it finally really settled at Public Assembly, I basically was just like, look, Brian, every Friday night I get home from work, I have nothing to do for 3 hours. I would much rather contribute to something that I appreciate, which is the Bunker. So like, why don't I just help you with the load in of the sound system? This is when we were still bringing in our own sound system for everything. And he was just like, an extra set of hands would be great. So I just started doing that every week to help Brian out and just to take a load off, just have a reliable helper for him. And that turned into, you've been helping out a lot. Like, we'll play a couple more times. And I started playing more. And then it just kind of became family with me, Brian, Derek, Seza, a couple other people. And it was just like, he extended the arm to be a resident. and this was also sort of coordinated at the same time when Derek was moving to Berlin. I needed another resident. You're the perfect fit. Let's kind of just work you into it. So Derek moved to Berlin, and then I kind of took over as the new bunker resident in New York.
Right.
And then, the family's kind of grown from there.
Right. It's funny how like the maybe it was the bunker has been what's the right bush league's not the right word, but
it's the farm team. It's like it's where.
Or maybe it's more like at this point it's like the pro team that keeps bringing up like Detroit is the farm.
Well,
Detroit's the farm team for the bunker.
If you really want to break it down, there's 4 bunker residents. All of them are from Detroit.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is hilarious.
So, yeah.
I still laugh at it. I'm just like, Brian's the only non-Detroit guy.
Exactly.
At his New York party.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of comical. But I guess that says a lot about our pedigree and our training back home.
Yeah. And it's I mean, I talk about this on this podcast all the time. Like, it's crazy to see, like you left for Berlin.
Everybody left.
Well, I'm talking about Detroit, but I'm talking like kind of all these Detroiters ended up in New York, and then like Derek left, so you became the bunker resident, and then you moved to Berlin. So then Cervino became the bunker resident with Patrick soon after as well.
Yeah.
That was also the point where the bunker was just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, the bunkers exploded quite a bit.
Spare, had room for one more resident.
We needed it. But that's when it turned into a 2-room party.
Yeah.
And Brian was just like, I need somebody for each room.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I kind of became the front room resident, and Brian was the back room resident.
Yeah.
And that's just basically the way it works. It's just like, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it like full tilt, kind of commitment.
So I think it's interesting how like you have like in Detroit this year, like I went to No Way Back, which was like the bunker. I think that one was the bunker presents Interdimensional Transmissions No Way Back.
Yeah, it's like the whole.
And the next night in the same venue was the bunker presented by Interdimensional Transmissions. Like
this is a bag. You scratch my back.
Little flip flop, but it's all the same DJs. It's all the same group of friends, and it's all the same high quality party. Like there's nothing wrong.
I guess you could
with 2 nights of it.
In a way, that's kind of what Detroit and the bunker. It's a tight knit, close. I want to say like closed doors, but like we've got our team and we got our family and we work together well, and we promote each other and we support each other. It's just a symbiotic kind of situation, and it's kind of funny to think that like bunker's throwing interdimensional transmissions and IT's throwing the bunker, but that's just the respect level that they have. It's no different than the whole Detroit Trésor connection, I guess.
True.
You could say. It's
True.
just the same nod of respect.
Did you make it to Tunnel at all?
I did not go to a tunnel at all this week. One of my weekends off, and I was just like, I don't really feel like
going out.
So
you're not coming to Berghain with me when we're done with this?
Dustin starts in what?
I'm meeting Dustin in like 30 minutes, so I'll have to wrap this up soon. But
Dustin starts in 2.5 hours.
He plays at 3. I'm gonna go with him at he wants to get there at 1:30. I'm going with him because I didn't sort out guest list because I did not for the life of me think I'd be going to Berghain
on your last day.
But I have a steadfast rule about not doing this, so I'm doing this.
Well, break your own rules.
Exactly.
Hey, but you get the business class.
I do have
So
business
shut the
class.
fuck up.
I know.
You're gonna be laid out, literally
out. I'm pulling a Brian Kosenek.
Yeah.
Okay.
Criming fucking river. But at least you have the wherewithal to clean yourself up before you get on a plane.
Yeah, I've done the first time I've ever went to Berghain was the only time I did the
straight to the airport.
Straight to the airport, like
just stink.
Hauling ass to the flat just to get my bag, and then like trying to get into an ATM, like to get money, but like my American back when like shit didn't always work properly. Like American cards didn't work in Europe all the time, and total
good times,
total nightmare.
Good times.
And then I was like when I was like 28, 29.
It's
like I could handle it.
Felt a bit more on top of the world.
We drank a bottle of Jägermeister on the way to what's a Berghain? Like this was like the first year they were open. Like and literally it's just like we were at a house party. Like in someone's flat, and all of a sudden
what's
it's
a
like
Berghain?
Yeah, and also it's like we're in a cab going to Berghain. What's a Berghain?
I'll tell you later. You'll figure it out real quick.
Yeah, just stay cool. But yeah, so you've been in Berlin 3 years now?
3.5, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you did so many people. You did the extended.
Well, what it was is
3
that-
months. Here for
I kept coming. I was spending more time in Europe for gigs than I was in the States. Yeah, because you can only play so many places in the United States.
sure,
And at that time, 4 years ago in the United States,
even fewer places.
there was basically New York, Chicago, Detroit, L.A., San Francisco, maybe Miami. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Now there's parties all over the place. It's a completely different landscape. But at that point, it's just like, and you can't play those 6 cities constantly.
Yeah.
And I can't play Bunker every week, or we had also switched to a monthly. I can't do it every month. So it's just like, I need to, if I'm going to make this DJ thing my career, I'm getting overseas bookings. So I ended up spending more time overseas. And it would go from like 1 month over here, 1 month back, to 2 months over here, 1 month back. Then it was like 3 months I'm going to stay over here, come back for a couple weeks, and then go back for another month, then go back for another week. It's just, and then it just hit a point where it's just, why don't I just stay? It saves me a lot of stress of going back and forth across the border with the States, which got super obnoxious after a while. And obviously my money goes a bit further here, not having to pay New York prices
Sure.
on things. So it was just like, yeah, made the jump. It seemed logical. I don't know if it was the right decision, but here I am.
Seems like the Bunker got you stuck around a little while. Like
If I would have stayed in New York, I would have.
well, everything in America really picked up.
Everything
But
just
who
blew
did? Yeah,
up.
who-
It was kind of comical that I left right before. It's like in the cartoons when the wick to the bomb. It's like just before it gets to the bomb, it just kind of stops.
Yeah.
I was just.
Everyone yelled at me. I had the same thing. I came here right when EDM was happening, and all my friends in LA were like, "Dude, it's time to cash in. Why are you moving to Berlin? Like, what's wrong with you?" And I just never really had a head for business, and now I'm back in LA, like right as everything's kind of crashing. But it's not crashing, but it's it's.
No, I mean I like it here. I'm glad I'm here. I think I'd probably be a bit frustrated in the States. Just
More frustrated.
just in New York in general. I think if I would have stayed in New York, I would have been super frustrated. Just because it's financially priced out.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. And there's not many places in the States that I would want to live.
Mm-hmm.
As big as that country is, there's only a few places that I could actually see myself. All of them not financially viable.
Yeah.
And I like Europe. I like it out here. I like being able to travel to places super easily, and
Where are your spots? You play a lot in Amsterdam.
a lot in
like,
Amsterdam,
A lot in Holland.
a lot in Amsterdam, a lot in Paris, a lot in Japan.
Yeah,
Asia.
you were kind of obviously not the first techno DJ to go to Japan, but you were going to Labyrinth Festival.
Yeah, I played Labyrinth in 2009, before Labyrinth actually was a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean that was still kind of weird. It was the strange experience for me, obviously, 2009 to go out there.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty fucking cool.
And now everybody went to Labyrinth this year.
Now
all my
it's
friends went to Labyrinth. It's just another stop.
it's a ravecation.
It's yet another stop on the endless summer ravecation,
You've got the
which is made possible by Delta Airlines.
yeah.
Brought to you by Air France, Delta, and KLM.
Kill.
So we can't complain too much.
No, we can't. We can't, but whatever.
So, all right, I gotta go to Berghain.
Go to Berghain.
Jesus Christ!
I can't. It's almost 1 a.m. on a Sunday.
On a Sunday, I haven't slept.
Technically a Monday.
Technically,
You haven't slept. You have a flight to catch in 8 hours.
8 hour. My flight is 9 hours.
Okay.
8.5 hours.
So
I can put in a solid 3-4 hours. Which is
famous last words.
Which is about. That's all I can do anymore.
Famous last words.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so hot in there. You know how hot it is out hot?
It is really hot
It's
out
gonna
there.
be double that in there.
That's just gonna make that full recline seat so
That
much
exit
sweeter.
strategy is gonna be put into place real quick.
No, trust. I'm just gonna club
You're gonna
mata and
Peace out.
yeah.
Hi, Dustin. Bye, Dustin.
All right, thanks,
cool,
Eric.
cool first record.
That's it for this episode of the Rave Curious podcast. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more conversations with key players in the electronic music community. If you like what you heard on this podcast, let us know. You can give us a shout on Twitter at Rave Curious. You can also like us on Facebook, Rave Curious Podcast. And of course, subscribe on iTunes to make sure you never miss an episode. That's it. Thanks for listening.